All right, we're about to leave. Mwah.
I don't know why I'm gonna cry.
I don't either.
Yeah. After getting all packed and ready to go and saying our goodbyes, we hit the road, starting our journey to Utah into the mountains to go hunt elk. We left New York and entered Pennsylvania, passing through Ohio and then into Indiana, where we stopped at a family member's house and slept for the night. When we woke up, we ate breakfast with our family and then hit the road again, driving all the way from Indiana to Nebraska, passing through Illinois and Iowa before stopping for the night at a hotel and getting a good night's rest. When we woke up, we quickly stopped at a Cabela's to buy some last-minute things for our hunt and then got back on the road, finishing our road trip when we stopped at another family member's house in Utah, where we stayed for a few days while we acclimated ourselves to the altitude. After our stay with our family, though, it was time to begin our hunt.
Kyle 64, I think you're lost.
We are down the horse, on the move. We are heading to our first camp. We're a little bit later than we expected, but you know, got the nice line going with horses and mules carrying our stuff. So, just to give you guys a sense of how dark it was on our first night riding in, this is what we were able to see. After about 3 hours of riding in the dark up treacherous switchback trails, we finally made it to our first camp, where we started a fire for light and unpacked some of our gear so we could get some rest. When we woke up the next morning, our guide, Rusty, took us out on our first hunt, while Percy, another guide, got everything ready for us to eat and then get back on the trail. That first hunt was relatively unsuccessful, though we did see a cow elk, which we spooked, but weren't able to get on camera. Did you get to see it?
Did you?
Even though we didn't get to see much that first hunt, the views were incredible.
Thank you. So far, so good, right?
Saw a cow elk, but ran off on us.
Yeah.
We saw some tracks and some other stuff, and
I did,
easing back to camp now.
I never even saw that cow elk.
It was so still. I was like, I knew that it was there. I
Yeah.
saw it. That I started to question if it was
Really an elk.
I was looking at it, and it was just so still. And I was looking at it, like, there's no way. My eyes were even getting fuzzy looking at it. I was like,
That's awesome. You ready, buddy?
I took a tumble down some rocks, which was pretty scary, but we pushed on back towards our camp.
There's ice on that water. We gotta go way down there. One of our horses are way down there.
By the time we got back to our camp, we were exhausted and ready to get on the trail to our next camp.
Yep.
I can't believe these horses can walk through this.
We understand this, man. We were just walking through it not too long ago. Oh.
Alright, yep. Get a bite and go.
On this ride, we passed by a really beautiful lake, and the water was so blue it almost didn't look real. I guess the water just looks crystal clear at 11,000 feet. When we got to the top of this mountain, we realized we spooked a herd of elk, but when we were finally able to see them, we saw that they were all cows, which we can't shoot. Once we got to our next camp, Rusty immediately took us out onto another hunt. A few minutes into our hunt, we saw a cow moose, and I decided to get closer to get it on camera. After it saw me, though, I decided it was best to slowly back away as not to disturb or anger the 600-pound giant of an animal.
It's looking right at us. Holy crap.
The lake we hunted around had some really beautiful views, including this one that looks really good with that mountain in the background.
Jacob, what is that? It's a wallow. Is that right? Yeah. What do they do? Lay in it and just smear it all over themselves? Roll mud all over themselves. Yeah. Trying to look good for them. Wow.
After a while of calling with no responses, we decided to call it a day and headed back to camp for the night, but not before using our stair pen to clean up some water to drink.
Doesn't taste like I'm gonna die.
The next morning, we packed up our stuff and headed to our last campsite.
Let him get a drink if he wants, I guess. Wow. Alright, there you go.
Unfortunately, I left one of our GoPros at camp though, so Rusty, my dad, and I stopped at the top of a mountain while Percy went back to grab it for us. After Percy found the GoPro and got back to us, we got back on the trail, down a mountain into another valley where the next camp was. When we got down into the valley, we stopped in a meadow and talked about our plan for the rest of the day. And we decided we would head into camp and then go on another hunt with Rusty. But when we got back on the horses, Rusty blew a cow call and we heard... We immediately jumped off our horses and grabbed my rifle and went over to where the bugle came from, only having to travel about 100 yards before being able to see the elk. Rusty knew we didn't have much time to sit there before the elk ran off, so he told me to aim carefully and take a shot.
You went down. You got him. You got him. That's a sick one. Yeah. He's a giant. He's a stud. He's a stud.
Oh my lord! Oh my gosh!
That is a stud. That is awesome. There. Let's put another one in him. I've seen him get up before. Shoot him right in the heart right there. Everybody plug your ears. He's done. Wow. That's a beautiful Nice shoot. Dude, how far was it? Well, we were out there where that little pine tree was right there. Try 100. And he was standing, he just shot him offhand. And he said, I see him, I saw his antlers move. And then I could see him, but the glare was getting us, huh? I said, you gotta shoot him now before he bolts. You gotta shoot him. And that's the happiest I've been all year.
Oh,
That's awesome. You made a heck of a shot on him, buddy. Thanks, man. We got work ahead of us now, don't we? I mean, there's different goals, but for a character like that.
Rusty was so happy for me after seeing the elk go down, and we ran over to it, and Percy caught up with us, where we saw the elk I had just shot. We were all super excited to see I shot a 9x6 stud of an elk that's bigger than anything I've ever seen in real life. We all posed for pictures, and then Rusty and Percy started quartering the elk, where we all sat and laughed as loud as we wanted because we didn't have to be quiet anymore. We took out the ivories and ate some of the fat behind the eyeballs, which Rusty told us tasted like warm bread dough, which it totally does.
Do you think this is where he hit it right here between those ribs?
Yep. I'll bet that's right where he nailed him. Well, I may have hit him there. Right
Oh,
there.
that's where you got him.
Heart shot.
Heart shot.
Perfect.
Oh,
Perfect.
man, that makes me even more proud of myself.
After getting the elk all packed up, we got back on the trail to camp, which ended up being another really late night ride. The next morning, we packed everything up onto our horses and mules and made our last ride down the mountain. views on this last ride were some of my favorite of the trip. It was also the longest ride at around 6 hours. Some of the trails we were on were pretty scary and it was tough to look down some of the time, especially for my dad who's terrified of heights.
I didn't even see one.
Take a look at that. Easy.
This part of the ride was by far the scariest though, and the footage doesn't do the hike justice. We were riding on gravel that would fall down the cliff under our horse's feet. My horse wouldn't stop running to catch up with the rest of the horses. Finally though, we made it off the mountain and packed our gear and meat into our truck, ate some pizza, and said our goodbyes to Rusty and Percy, who are two of the best men I've ever met, and would recommend to anyone lucky enough to have the chance to go on a hunt like this. Thank you Rusty and Percy for this wonderful trip.